Mouin Rabbani is a non-resident fellow with the Center for Conflict and Humanitarian Studies, and he joins me now from Montreal. Do you agree, Mouin, that Netanyahu overall must be feeling pretty pleased about how the trip went? Rapturous applause in Congress, FaceTime with all the key players. He couldn't really have asked for much more in the circumstances.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. As has been pointed out elsewhere, he was received by the U.S. Congress as the Messiah. Rapturous, repeated standing ovations that would make even North Korean leaders blush. And he met with both President Biden, the presumed Democratic nominee Kamala Harris, and most recently with the Republican nominee Trump. But against this, I think he should also have cause for concern. Over 130 members of Congress boycotted his fourth address to a joint session of Congress. There were mass demonstrations throughout his trip, and these are developments that would have been inconceivable even a decade ago. And what we're now seeing is that the polarized political landscape in the United States and in Israel is beginning to reflect itself in U.S. attitudes towards Israel. And so the solid bipartisan consensus that has for decades been Israel's most important strategic asset is beginning to fray.
And what about Trump, whom he visited earlier? His position on Israel and Gaza right now, he's been, as ever, a little short on specifics. What do you think could a Trump presidency bring?
Well, let's not draw too great of a distinction between Democrats and Republicans when it comes to this specific issue. After all, Trump's policies during his first term, it's true they were different than those before him, but they can also, I think, be reasonably understood as the logical culmination of decades of U.S. policies. And I think that contention is further strengthened when you consider that the Biden administration really did not reverse a single major decision made by the Trump administration. And so whether you're talking about Trump or Biden, I think both of them represent a shift from the traditional American unconditional support for Israel to one of fanatical devotion to it. You could argue that's a distinction without a difference. As far as Harris is concerned, yes, she spoke words, but when you're almost a year into a genocide, and these words are unaccompanied by significant and meaningful actions, they become meaningless. And it will be therefore interesting to see if in the following months, Harris, who, as most vice presidents, has been largely excluded from U.S. policy towards the Middle East, will be allowed to play a role in order to bolster her own election campaign. And what that role might be. I do not expect much of a shift, but let's keep our eyes open.
Let's. Mouin Rabbani from Montreal in Canada. Thank you so much for joining us on TRT World.